So this is an old video that you're going to watch. I started filming in November 2023 and it took me a year to post. So these are all archived clips. You know, some of my thoughts might have changed, some might stay the same, but I'd like to post them because it's part of the journey and it's important to me, and they matter to me, and it shows the journey and shows different thoughts I was going through compared to now, I guess. But yeah, enjoy the video. Peace.
One of the things that I've sort of noticed in my life recently is the effect I do actually have on other people. Now, it is going to sound big-headed and egotistical, maybe even narcissistic, but I'm just seeing it as the truth. And it's the effect that you have on people, and it's giving yourself the value that you truly have. That's why it's not egotistical, and that's not why it's wrong to say what I'm going to say. But how much you actually improve people's lives on a day-to-day. I sort of believe my reach is limited to my friends and my family and people like that. I'm not changing the world at the moment. And I don't know. I noticed it this morning, really, that the people around me, specific people around me, not obviously going to name names, but they're starting to improve who they are and how they are, and they're becoming better people. Or I guess what I perceive as better people. And I can't help but see it as an influence of mine. And I don't think that's wrong. I think there's an element to it where you take all the credit and you say it's solely you, and that's wrong. But for me to almost season that person, a little bit of salt, a little bit of spark to their life, it's not wrong to admit that you've done that. And I wasn't going to make this point, but I am now, because it's in my head sometimes when I talk about myself in a valuable way. I've always got that little voice in the back of my head that says, you can't talk this way, you can't be this big-headed, you can't speak in a good way about yourself, especially on camera. People are going to say you have an ego and you're up your own ass and stuff like that. But can we just normalise the fact that you can actually value yourself? You can see the value in you, and you can see the value in who you are, and you can express that outwardly. And I think it's the people that don't value themselves that criticise the people that speak out loud and say how good they actually are. And it's not being a narcissist, and it's not having an ego. It's up to a point, obviously, but it's normal to think of yourself, or it can be normal. It's the aim to think of yourself in a positive light. And you've just got to ignore these comments, or I've just got to ignore these comments that I've heard that you're big-headed, because it is an insecurity on the other person's part that they don't value themselves, that they can't even imagine ever speaking about themselves in this way. And you've got to remember, that's not your issue, that's their issue. And it goes with anyone else who's suffering with comments off people who are just, in a way, either jealousy or insecurity. It's jealousy, but in a form of insecurity themselves. They want to be a certain way, and they're not that way. And I remember I was listening to some videos this morning that I filmed in the past. And I remember when I started, I had this insecurity that if I talked about any struggle, any negative that's going on in my head, that I would be criticised because it's not actually a struggle. It's not actually something that's big. It's not when you compare it to other people's lives. I've always got that in my head. I still got it now. I had it at the forefront when I first started filming. How can I talk about struggle? What struggle have I gone through? Now, I've gone through a mental struggle growing up in the past few years. I'm past it now. But it's just a mental struggle. It's nothing. I'll sum it up. I saw a TikTok yesterday and it said, how rich am I? I turn on the tap and the water's flowing. I walk out the door and I can buy anything I want in the supermarket. I can buy anything I want anytime I want. I can contact anyone I want anytime. I can drive to anywhere I want to go. I'm free. And it's that appreciating the life that you have. It's appreciating the situation in this country that most of us are actually privileged, and most of us do actually have a very great life, and most of us shouldn't talk about suffering. And that's why we don't talk about suffering, because you don't think your own struggle is big enough. But the point isn't that it needs to be big. The point is, whatever it is, you're struggling. And by speaking, you get it out of your system. And as a byproduct, someone else might actually hear that and relate to it and might think, you know what, I'm going through that same thing. It's not a big deal. It feels like a big deal to me, but I don't want to make it a big deal. I just understand it's a struggle of mine. And when someone else might hear it and relate to it, and it might become a bit less, or their struggle becomes a bit less because it becomes more common. You relate to someone else and you say, oh, thank God. And if you have that chance to speak to someone, the conversation will go like this, go, oh, me too, I have that. I struggle with that. And it almost becomes not a struggle because you can relate to someone else. But the point of this video is you got to not listen to other people, and you got to realise it is an insecurity in other people. And you are fine just thinking the way you feel and the way you think. Like yesterday, I still, if I'm honest today, I'm not feeling overly driven, I'm not feeling fired up, and that's okay for me not to feel like that all the time. And because I have something in my head where I feel like I should feel like that all the time. Because I can feel like that all the time, because I have such a great ability. But anyway, video's over, so peace.